Okay, welcome back. We're gonna compute the following limit of n over square root of 1 plus square root n to the power 4. Okay? So the first thing is that we can just simplify the n4th to n square. Okay? The reason was the n4 here because this one was a function, and we were interested in finding the limit as x goes to minus infinity. But here we are doing sequences, and we are only interested in finding limit as n goes to plus infinity. So the first thing is that we note is, so if we try to compute the limits directly, we're gonna find the limit of this one is plus infinity, and the limit of this one is plus infinity. So we have plus infinity over plus infinity, and which is an undetermined form, so we can conclude. Okay, so we need to use some tricks, and one of the tricks that we can use here is that we can take the square root here. So since n is a positive, the square root of n squared is just n. So that's what we're gonna use here. So n, we're gonna replace it with the square root of n squared. So in this case, we have the limit becomes 1 plus n squared. So it's the limit of square root of n squared over 1 plus n squared. Okay, and we know the square root of the fraction is this the fractions of the squares. So the fraction of the squares is the square of the fractions, assuming that are defined. Okay, so we don't have a problem here. So this gives us that the limit of n squared over 1 plus n squared. Okay, here we can use some logic. Okay, or let's use some logic. So these two numbers, n squared over 1 plus n squared, they are very close. Okay, so it's like dividing 7 over 6. So these are different by 1. Okay, so but when we have large numbers, adding 1, it's not changing anything. So 1 plus n squared is almost as n squared when n is big. Okay, in this case, we have like two identical numbers. And what's the result? It's the square root of 1. So this fraction is almost 1. So it's basically 1 when n gets bigger. So the square root of 1 is just 1, so the limit is 1. So this tells us that the limit of our sequence is just 1. So now we are learning something. We learned that plus infinity over plus infinity is an undetermined form, and we have to get rid of it to compute the limit. So this is one of the examples. Okay, and we use some tricks. Okay, we use some tricks like this. In this case, we had to replace n by the square root of n squared. So these techniques are tools that we need to learn along the way to be able to compute the limits. Okay, we'll add more problems to see and to learn different techniques. Thank you.